Oh, I am so tired. Lockdown number 5, everybody.
Clunk.
Hello, we are back due to popular demand. Thank you, everybody. Thanks all 2 of you. Thank you so much. Today I am dressed as an atomic blonde because I watched a video yesterday by Solari about how the right is weaponizing females to spread propaganda. So that was excellent, and that is what I am doing today. Notepad and all. How you doing?
You mean like Tony Lauren? Is that what you're sort of doing?
Yeah, but other things. I'll link the video in the description. It was much better than whatever this is about to be. So, you know.
Go watch that instead after this.
After this one. We're here for an exciting COVID update because we haven't been here and apparently we're in lockdown number 5. Cue the Mambo number 5 references that everybody has been doing. Have you been seeing
It's
memes?
like, is that the only 5th thing of everything we know in
the
our
5th
culture?
element. Or that's it. So anyway, memes aside, we are gonna do some quick general updates on the screen. So we're gonna do New South Wales, we're gonna do South Australia, and
wait,
the other ones.
What's appearing?
Oh, it's definitely
what are these numbers?
hard
Are they the COVID numbers? What am I responding to?
The COVID numbers. Well, let's
how
try
many
that
people
again.
have it? All right. Yep.
Let's try that again. So, New South Wales.
That's how many people are sick right now.
It's cases from today.
Oh, okay. That's how many people were determined to be sick today.
And then we got South Australia. Victoria. And the other ones. You know,
all the rest.
Yeah.
Misc.
So, we woke up today with over half of Australia being in lockdown. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's 2021 and that feels terrible.
Population-wise, more than half, I would have thought.
I just have to share with you some breaking news though. Anastasia Palaszczuk has just secured the Olympics for 2032 if there is a 2032. How excited are you for Brisbane to be hosting the Olympics?
Wait, not the Olympics.
No, the Olympics.
The actual Olympics.
Why is that so shocking to you?
Because I heard it was the Paralympics.
No, it's the full Olympics.
Why isn't that a bigger deal?
It is a big deal.
Is that a big deal?
They just had fireworks, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Shows what I know.
So the Olympics is coming as very exciting, but obviously there needs to be a 2032 in order for there to be an Olympics. It seems quite hopeful.
I did see the mad fucking witches response where they're like, that's great, except it'll be a climate catastrophe by then.
Yeah, what fucking
especially
volcano
in
are you going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be fucking hot by 2032.
So it's the 5th lockdown for us here in Melbourne, and I read that it's 6 months of cumulative lockdown that we've been through in the last year to year and a half.
Oh, like including all of 2020?
Yeah. So how do you feel? Because it definitely feels this time on the fucking irritating side of things. Obviously, again, save lives, stay home, etc. But you can be critical of your government. Oh boy, can you ever.
And
so how are you feeling?
Firstly, frankly, I'm stunned that in the last year and a half it's only 6 months of lockdown. Because when I look back at 2020, it's like January, February, March, and then we were in lockdown till Christmas.
Don't forget,
that is my memory.
As crazy Reddit people, we locked down well early. Okay, so obviously we're in lockdown again. I feel like nobody predicted, and obviously, you know, leadership is challenging and all the caveats in the world of like, oh, this is like unprecedented times, etc. But also, we kind of did know. We kind of did know at this point last year about what we should put in place, such things as like maybe a rolling form of support, which has been flagged for some time, and maybe that vaccines would be sort of majorly part of getting out of this situation. So the first...
Maybe a more robust social security system. I look forward to them 20, 30 years from now saying, oh, these climate consequences are unprecedented and no one told us. And it'll be like, well, we did.
It does just feel, I mean, like a matter of time until like the insurances stop. Like it's all just going to stop working as climate change. Like I know the pandemic is bad right now, but all of it just seems like there's like a fucking climate change monster just hiding behind the pandemic, waiting to pounce as like...
It's the bigger bad.
It's such a
like
worse
in a
bad.
fantasy show where you're like, oh, we killed the dragon. It was just a baby. And there's also an even bigger Jaws.
I've been spooking myself by reading sort of these climate apocalyptic things.
Oh, don't do
I know, but I also want to know because I'm pretty sure this is going to kick off in a super bad way.
You may listen to Rod Quantock ramble about how we're going to lose Tim Tams. I know you like your Tim Tams.
Get those evil devil biscuits out of my house. So what I want to bring up first is the fabulous honorary position that we have gained in Australia as the last place in the OECD for the vaccine rollout. So we are doing the very worst in the OECD. Now, do we know what that is? No, but sounds fancy.
Isn't that basically like the capitalism ranking.
Yeah, it's the capitalism.
So the Liberal Party,
I
the
could be
best
wrong here,
party at
but
capitalism.
I think Matthias Cormann paid something like, we'll put the number here, on private jet flights to become the leader of the OECD.
I think you'll find that you paid for him to take those private jet flights.
Remember that cunt who took that helicopter and we were all like, this guy has taken
Bronwyn
literally
Bishop,
like
yes.
the helicopter
She's a
monster, and now this cunt has like flown and...
A helicopter trip from Melbourne to Geelong that cost taxpayers $5,000.
So, our government's inept response has also included some incredibly terrible advertising. Have you seen either of the ads for COVID in terms of getting the jab? Which is how we say it. We can't just say get vaccinated. We have to say getting the jab because we're all men from the country, I guess.
Is getting the jab a good euphemism? Like, does it?
Getting the jab.
It's absolutely a euphemism.
Somebody decided that it's like, you know, it's like them putting on the cowboy hat.
Oh, like putting on the high-vis vest.
Yeah,
and,
when they
go
to the countryside.
But, like, I heard that a lot, and I don't know, like, if you have reservations about... Yeah, exactly.
No, it sounds horrible.
Jab.
Every time I hear it, I'm like, the jab.
Like, all I think of is all the characters who get jabbed with sharpened toothbrushes in Oz.
I know, a jab doesn't seem like...
Too.
Maybe what you want to be is, like, get the, like, nice, clean, friendly, safe nurse injection. A safe love...
Infusion.
No.
It'll make me think of a novelty tea bag.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Some fuckhead infusion. So the two approaches we've been given. Now, the places where COVID's was bad got the 30-year-old woman suffocating to death. The much maligned point was obviously that if you are 30, you are not technically eligible or on the thing to get vaccinated.
Oh, so they had someone too young to be vaccinated.
Yeah. Suffocating to death.
Of COVID.
But it wasn't
if only
even
she
like...
got the vaccination that wasn't available to her.
Everyone's
if only she went to Trinity Grammar, she could have been vaccinated.
Exactly. If only
So
she
the
was
lesson here is be better at the game of capitalism, and your kids will be at a rich school and they'll be vaccinated even when there's not enough for our health workers.
Or aged care workers or everybody else from like phase 1. So that, yeah, it's so bad. So that ad was apparently pitched as sort of like this very visceral and like very like, you know, it will definitely make you, but when you watch it, it's kind of like, it's not that long. It's kind of like, yeah, she's like suffocating, but you know, there was footage coming out of Italy and like anywhere where it kind of, India even just more recently, that was much more affecting. I just don't know that
What,
they really...
of commercials or real footage?
Real footage.
Well,
that
that's
I think
obviously gonna, because you watch this woman and you're like, oh cool, acting.
Yes, but I don't think it sums up like it. I think what it misses is like that. It's hard for humans to accept that that could be happening to them. But do you remember that You Should Have Been There Dad ad?
It was so funny, Dad. You should have been there.
Which killed me every time. It was like the little girl being like, you should have, and that's through that, if it's not you who's dying, it puts you in the perspective of either you having a kid or you being the one watching
caring
your
about someone else
die.
dying, yeah.
And it's much easier to accept that others around you could die than to think about your own mortality. So I feel like just on a psychological level, it kind of doesn't work. And it also doesn't really work on like the AIDS scary bowling ball guy level. Like it's not so visceral that you're like, oh, this is fucked.
Like the classic HIV ad, which we're going to throw a trusty clip of up there.
AIDS bowling ball.
Because it's a classic. Like it's surreal, it's symbolic, it's not naturalistic at all. It's not like dying of AIDS. But what it does do is it captures your imagination.
Yes.
Whereas this doesn't do that. It's a literal representation, but they've put this ad out into a market that we all grew up on the TAC ads, which since 1991 have just been sort of in escalating.
It's like a joke.
Horrendousness
Yeah.
and stuff. And so we're kind of used to these extremely graphic depictions of the consequences of one's shit. And so this ad, I think it was just, oh, look, is she short of breath? You know, like for some people,
fucking having an asthma
yeah,
attack.
yeah. I'm watching a woman struggle to breathe. Like, I don't know. It's like for some people, struggling to pull breath is a good Saturday night. So I don't know that it really landed as truly traumatic.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't parents burying their kids.
That's what I mean.
Type of
It
shit.
didn't push forward into the next scene where there's the consequences. I don't know. So
They should have shown us her getting a tube jammed down her throat. She's like, no, I don't want the tube. And it's like,
yeah. And her
stuff.
grandparents on the other side of the thing wanting to talk to her but not being able to or something.
It's like E.T. and Elliot, they're reaching for each other through the plastic and stuff.
Yeah. It could have been like, if you're going to go down the, I agree, like, I think we need an ad that is like, has the consequences.
Or we dig up our Grim Reaper and we have him clamping his hand over people's faces and they can't breathe, and we lean into the symbolism.
They dug up the guy who made that ad, and he also thought the ad was shit. So, you know.
Like, was he like, more Grim Reapers, more bowling balls? Who thought of like talk about a mixed metaphor? It's the Grim Reaper, but instead of having him, you know, reap, he's bowling.
Was there a line in that
he
that's
was
like 1 in 6 Australians? I think it's the 1 in 6 or something, right? Is that why?
They had a pretty heavy stat as well.
But I think that's to do with the pins, to get you the idea of how your chances are like being hit by a bowling ball.
But there's not 6 pins
isn't there?
in bowling. No.
I don't know how bowling
No. How do you get a 7-10 split if there's only 6 pins?
I don't know. I feel like someone figured that out.
So it was really weird. Instead of reaping, he's the Grim Bowler.
Other ad set that came out that went to places where they ain't having so much of a COVID troubles right now was the, get you ready for this, Arm Yourself ad series. And that's just a series of Australians who need to do more lifts, putting their arms up, and like it's sort of like a call to action, like a arm yourself, get vaccinated.
Oh, I don't hate it on paper.
No, me either. I think it's lame that it's arm yourself and everybody in that ad needed
But you
to
get it in your arm.
Yeah, get the jab, and it's a little work togethery. Again, I agree we need like the sort of spook people into it, and sort of then the. But where was this advertising 100 years ago?
Oh, like when it
started.
first came out,
Yeah.
it was just trying to get people to wear a
Do you
mask.
remember we had a
and
whole
not protest
Christmas
lockdown.
where life was essentially normal, and we were just like, meh, like nothing.
Oh, glad that year's over.
Sorted. Put that
Looking
in the bin.
forward, 2021, gonna be my year.
This is really going to be my year.
Right.
Put that trash fire year in the bin. And we didn't do any advertising. So again, all of this is just terrible, terrible leadership where it's like nobody
Bad
has...
messaging.
Yeah. From the
Our
advertising...
Prime Minister is from marketing.
Yeah, but he got fired, so...
True, for mysterious reasons. I think it's pooping, personally.
Alright, so we've talked about our delightful federal government, so why don't we have a little look at our two favourite boys, New South Wales and Victoria.
Otherwise known as the only two proper states in Australia.
What are the other ones? I don't know. So, but obviously we're all connected and like, let's work together, etc. But, so, our boy Daniel Andrews came back from having like, I don't know, a violent attack from the guy from...
He was. Basically, it was Bane. I'm almost certain Bane, might have been Lindsay Fox, but I'm pretty sure it was Bane, broke Daniel Andrews across his knee.
For being so powerful, I think.
And much like Batman, he sent an Azrael knockoff out to, I'm getting into my 90s comic book references.
Specific.
Yeah. Talking about the works of Denny O'Neil, died recently, I believe. Yeah, so he had like a pseudo Batman coming out and doing the press conferences for a while.
Yes. I think his name was James Merlino, but we do not remember any.
Merlino.
He will be forgotten.
Merino, some sort of sheep, I believe.
Yes. So, alright, so Daddy Andrews is back, and we've got good old Gladys Berejiklian, who's, lest we not forget that picture that her sister released of her and Bay. I'll put it here. So I just want to kind of look at the different ways that the two states have handled it, and it's not really a celebration of the success of Victoria, but a vindication of the success. Now, obviously, as Daniel Andrews has pointed out in multiple press conferences, you never want to gloat and you never want to like begrudge somebody else for doing things differently. So if we look at the way that the New South Wales press conferences go down, Gladys makes a real big song and dance about business. She mentions it every 45 seconds. She doesn't really talk about
business
people.
leaders, businesses getting back to us, business.
Like, do you have any takeaways from her press conference that we listened to?
I don't know, I guess with her constituents, she thinks liaising with business plays better than 5 people have died in my state in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I can see how that works.
Yeah. I mean, she does throw that broken glasses lady under the bus constantly, so I noticed that she never really, like, says the hard stuff herself, and she's kind of just like, what's this health lady, Miss Chant? She can break her fucking goggles on television and then
She'll
talk
tell you about
it.
how many people have
Who are
died.
Dead.
Yeah.
Tell them about the dead ones. Gladys's kind of catchphrase at the moment is quash the virus. How do you feel about that as opposed to...
Quash, throwing everything we have.
What? Yeah.
Which all I can think of is, as it comes towards you, you're like, oh, paper cups, my glasses, and stuff. Not throwing functional things, just whatever's to hand. Oh, pens!
Yeah. Throwing shit at the wall kind of vibes. Like, shouldn't you be not throwing everything we have, but like doing some kind of targeted, specific response to the virus.
It does sound a little less tactical than surgical strike and stuff. We just throw in everything we have.
We have
old
the
tissues,
COVID commander, don't we, Jerome? And he's all very surgical strike and precision. See, where is that language from New South Wales? It's all very like, you know what? Go to work, don't go to work, definitely get vaccinated, but go to work, but don't go to work. It's very confusing. Very, very confusing. I just don't know who knows what is supposed to be happening.
Because I know there was a lot of criticism last year in Victoria over having the Ring of Steel and then looser restrictions in regional Victoria, which we got to enjoy because we live in regional Victoria, and then much tighter, harder restrictions in Melbourne.
Yes.
Because, you know, those motherfuckers are all jammed in and then they're like, oh, I'm going to go fishing. And they come out to, you know, Bendigo or whatever the hell and spread the disease and stuff. And there was a lot of pushback on that and making it weird and how it was, you know, unfair. And then they tried to extend it all regional, and then regional was like, we're doing the right thing. They weren't. They were just lucky and isolated.
Yeah, you usually live real far away.
Yeah, the rules in Sydney seem overly complex and specific. And I feel like if you pick at it, anyone's allowed to go to work or anyone's allowed to leave the house. If you really look at it, it's like, oh, should you be leaving the house? Mate, these coffins won't make themselves and you're allowed to go out. It's very odd.
Yes, and I think that
confusing.
What it strikes me as is like your ideology manifest in a anti-ideological, like you have to be people-centric at this point. Unfortunately, I'm sorry everybody, but like what economy will there be if all the people are dead? I just don't understand this argument of like, well, you just got to, do you? Or could you maybe not kill everybody? Like the UK's plan of just sort of like 50,000 cases a day, just open back up. You've just got to. Yes, but all your vulnerable people will die. Why is that not an issue? I guess.
Well, they can say there's no money, and what they really mean is that if we spend this money supporting citizens while they're locked down, we can't give that money to our friends to murder koalas. And that to me is what's so galling. It's like, look, we would love to extend Job Seeker to a whole bunch of needy people, but we want to pay Angus Taylor millions of dollars for land that's not worth millions of dollars.
And we can't tax the rich because then they won't vote for us or something.
Or give us more money directly. So that's where it's galling. It's like they're saying we have to reopen. We can't just support every cafe that's got to close down for 5 months. But they're quite happy to give the money to their friends, and that is what's outrageous.
I think that's what's frustrating about New South Wales focusing so much on business. You mean big business. Everyone likes to talk a big game about sort of like being the economic sort of powerhouses and keeping, but how, like, surely every small to medium-sized business has to turn on these governments. Like, it's not good for you either. It's not helping you.
It's been a lie for a long time that, the Liberals give a fuck about small business, and I've never really seen any evidence for it. Joe Hockey wanted to eat pizza on the side of the road and so stepping down on rules about tables.
Remember when he was smoking cigars? We'll put that picture in here, but just like, guys, these are aristocratic nightmare lords.
Who sits down to smoke a big fat cigar after you've just
evil budget?
After you've just said, what I reckon is fuck the poor?
I mean, that's kind of badass, but in such a horrible way. But my question to you is...
if he was in a movie, I'd think he was fucking cool as, like, what a heel.
If you're seeing that and you're like the small business, like, are you voting for these
people? Who runs a pizza shop and sees that cunt smoking a cigar and says, I want that man to be in charge?
I think, right. So, anyway, so that's New South Wales. Seems really intense, and if you're in New South Wales, we'd love to hear from you, but it does seem like your messaging is, like, pretty unclear in terms of, like, what is and isn't allowed.
If you live in New South Wales and you know what you are and aren't allowed to do legally, let us know in the comments below, because I got no fucking idea what you guys are and aren't meant to be doing.
Alternatively, and again as Victoria fanboys, we do know that
we're just here.
Daniel Andrews seems to mention kind of community and like very lefty and sort of like soft daddy like vibes about it all. But his whole, you'll love this, his sort of like catchphrase at the moment is, the virus didn't start here, but it will end here. And then he kicks over the podium and like flies or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that his management, whoever came up with that, fucking genius, because you've tied in how it's not his fault, but he will fucking end it.
It's like a catchphrase from Death Wish.
It is, it's incredible. Like, it's like, so you got quash the virus, and the virus didn't start here, it started over there, but it will end here. Now, obviously, in the future, this virus doesn't give a fuck about borders, they are essentially meaningless, we all have to work together in order to make this not fucked forever. Like, it requires a lot of people agreeing, and unfortunately, according to Today Tonight, from what I can tell, we do not all agree.
I don't agree with that.
Really?
Yep, I think we all get on. No, I was just making a joke.
Oh. I was like, excuse me? Don't disagree with me, I'll hit you.
So if you're running a government and you have a better idea about how to enforce lockdowns and keep people safe from COVID, let us know in the comments below. And for the rest of us, stay safe, try not to breathe heavily into other people's faces, keep your spirits up, and if you're posting about this sort of stuff on the interwebs, try not to reshare any old trade that you don't know anything about, filled with misleading stats. Otherwise, I will find you on the internet and I will fucking argue with you. Like, share, subscribe, and stay as drunk as possible, because that's been proven to help with mask adherence and that sort of thing.
That's the Titanic situation, isn't it? Anyway.
Were they wearing masks on the Titanic?
Yeah.
They fucking should have been.